Hello, it's JCal Arts, and welcome to my Let's Draw series where I draw a picture, you watch me draw, and I explain the thought processes behind the drawing. So in today's Let's Draw, I'm going to be drawing some wrestling, or rather luchador OCs, because this is me expressing a desire for a wrestling cartoon to be created, because Mucha Lucha and other wrestling cartoons, I'm not interested in watching them, and the official WWE and similar live action wrestling shows have gone on for so long to where I feel like I need to do a lot of backlogging of episodes to watch to catch up to the current stuff. So yeah, I'll do this video instead. So to start off our luchador roundup, we have Ricochet, and this is the name this character goes by, and the character I'm referencing is being drawn on screen. And I've just seen a lot of wrestlers named Ricochet, well, two in particular. The main character, Mucha Lucha's name is Ricochet, and then WWE has a wrestler called Ricochet. I just found this out recently, so yeah, is that a common name any wrestlers like to go by? Well, luchadors in particular. But anyway, I decided to design him with a devil motif because I know that in certain parts of Latin America, there's certain festivals or dances where the people, put on masks of that's supposed to represent the devil or similar creatures, but I'm not exactly sure. And if you're Hispanic, can you let me know and inform me further? But I only give that background information because that's the inspiration for Ricochet's design. I see him as an Afro-Mexican who, is taken by that aspect of Hispanic culture and decides to showcase it in the ring and taking on the name Ricochet. On a side note, I feel like a wrestling-themed cartoon has so much potential because animation can really just bring out the color and spectacle that you would expect from a wrestling show. And I especially like, the idea of masked wrestlers in the cartoon because, to my knowledge, in Lucha Libre, the masked wrestler's real identity is not given to the general public. Now, if there are exceptions, let me know in the comment section, but to my knowledge, that's usually how it goes. And I feel like that could create a lot of crazy hijinks or, drama where the luchador or luchadora is, one thing when they're in the ring, but then they're a completely different person when they're out of the ring and just living their day-to-day life. And Ricochet here gets hit with that dissonance very hard because I see him being a very boisterous, cocky, and confident, person when he's in the ring with a Ricochet costume and identity. But then in real life, he's just some very quiet, ordinary guy. And he wishes he could be more like his ring character in real life. And I see him also being a pyrotechnician and using his craft to create fiery attacks and using, his fire tricks to increase his mobility, and the fire adding to the devil imagery, by the way. And as far as I know, wrestlers across many cultures, but especially professional ones, have a signature move. And I see Ricochet's signature move being a big flaming Hurricane Rana. And hopefully you can envision it with me, but he uses flames to propel himself and the opponent upward in a big fiery wheel and then slams them down. But that's Ricochet, everybody. So the next luchador in my lineup of OCs goes by the ring name Tezgato. And Tez comes from the god Tezcatlipoca, which is an Aztec god that is associated with the night sky, obsidian, war, and if you know more about him, let me know if he's god of anything else. And the gato part comes from the Spanish word cat, which I know Puss in Boots fans have learned pretty well with the latest movie, wink wink. And I made him an anthro jaguar because I don't know if Mexican people can correct me, but at least in America, when Mexican characters are represented, they like to give a tiger motif in association with you. And I feel that's kind of sad because the jaguar is a big cat that's literally right there and indigenous to Mexico and plays a lot bigger role in Mexican culture. And particularly Tezcatlipoca also is associated with the jaguar. So yeah, you can see why I turned Tezgato into a furry in this drawing. Intermission time, so I want to let you guys know that I have an Instagram called JCards, the same name as my channel name, and I encourage you to follow me over there because I post more frequently over there, and I have all sorts of random content outside of YouTube videos that you can enjoy. But back to the video. I was looking on the internet for like pictures of Tezcatlipoca or like, people's interpretations of him. And I decided to make Tezgato's like luchador mask have like, I guess, feather patterns in the back. Because I see like a lot of art of Aztec people wearing like feather headdresses. Now, if that's not accurate and you know more about that, you can let me know in the comment section. But that's what I've seen of images of, not only Tezcatlipoca, but Jaguar Knights, which were a thing from what I've seen from research. And so I gave him like feathers in the back, and I also gave his palette like cool colors like a night sky purple, because remember Tezcatlipoca is the god of the night sky. And I also gave him like white stars in the middle of his luchador mask. And I also have like a very like muted green to match, because Tezcatlipoca is also the god of obsidian, which is a metal that has been used to create some pretty wicked swords. And so that was basically, what inspired the palette and why I've colored him in this color scheme. And it also kind of contrasts with his very warm, fur colors. So I'd see Tezcato basically being like indigenous coded because, of racial coding of non-human characters. So since jaguars are native to Mexico, I see him as like an indigenous Mexican character, or coded that way. I also see him and Ricochet being friends both in the ring and outside of it, and sometimes like to tease each other as well. But I see Ricochet being jealous of Tezgato, because where Ricochet's in-ring personality and out-ring personality are drastically different, Tezgato's personalities in the ring and out of it are quite similar. And I would say Tezgato, personality-wise in the ring, is like a furry version of Angel Garza. Now, WWE fans, if that's a bad analogy, you'll let me know, I'm pretty sure. But basically I see him being like a showman. He's more of a charmer and nowhere near as like cantankerous as Ricochet is in the ring. And he likes to appeal to his fans, male and female, and he enjoys the attention. And he's pretty much the same in real life. So yeah, so long to baby Jaguar. He done grown up and went through puberty with this one. So with this final pair of wrestling luchador OCs, you're getting 2-in-1. So I basically have the Oso brothers. That's the ring name of the two characters, and I had to sit here and try to pick names for these two, and sorry if they sound pretty generic, but y'all know I'm bad at naming my original characters for the most part. And so you see, two bear characters here. The lighter and shorter brother is named Chavo, and the taller and bigger brother is named Hector, and they're the Oso brothers. So yeah, let's just roll with that. So what inspired these two is essentially WWE fans. There basically is the Uso brothers, and I think one is named Jay, and I'm not sure about the other one. But basically, it's a pun, because Uso, if you switch the U out with the O, that's the Spanish word for brer, Oso. So we have the Oso brothers. And I've been drawing them as of recently, like especially if you follow my Instagram, because I've been trying to test out the new textured hair brushes I have. And yeah, these two are effectively my first test subjects. So they've been cooking in the brewery for a while. But I always knew that I wanted to have like a pair of like wrestling anthro bears because of that pun I mentioned earlier. Haha, I'm so funny. But beyond that, I was struggling giving them a gimmick, so I finally actually came up with one. So the gimmick I gave the Uso brothers is a thief gimmick, like they're a pair of heels. And for those who don't know, heels are antagonistic characters in wrestling, because the wrestlers play a character for the most part when they go out there on the ring. But they are a pair of heels whose whole thing is that they want to steal as many like wrestling championship belts to keep for themselves. And so yeah, that's their whole little gimmick. And really, like, the fact that wrestlers like play characters and everything, like, it gives the impression, at least to me, that wrestling is kind of like scripted anime fights where all the wrestlers have their backstories, they have their relationships with each other, their allies, their rivals, and like it just seems like they're in a big old live action anime tournament. And so that's why I've kind of been on the fence with wrestling as a whole, because I have my interest peak in it, but at the same time, I don't know if live action wrestling is going to be the thing that ultimately actually makes me watch it. And the cartoons, as far as about wrestling, are just ones that don't really pique my interest. So I guess that's what inspired me to have my wrestling cartoon show pitch here. So yeah, I envisioned the Oso brothers being rivals to Ricochet and Tezgato, and not so much as like being like the big bad heels of their career, or even in like the wrestling, shows. Because I don't know how it is in real wrestling, but like in my envision, like if I had to expand these characters and put them in like a wrestling cartoon show, I would say there's like other heels more intimidating than them. And so yeah, I would say they're more rivals to Tezgato and Ricochet than they are just like outright like villainous. And I would say Chavo Oso in the ring is more of like the brains of the operation and is like a hyperactive maniac, while Hector is the silent giant that's the muscle of the team. And basically I wanted to envision them having Ren and Stimpy energy for any of those people in the audience who've watched that show. So that's basically their dynamic in the ring, and I imagine them outside the ring being, just wholesome, normal guys. And I also envision them not really interacting with Ricochet or Tezgato that much. Like, I see, Tezgato and Ricochet, being curious about who the Oso brothers are outside the ring, and then them going through all the trouble to find out who they are in reality, and trying to envision what type of people they are. And they build up in their head that the Oso brothers are like these scary, unpleasant, nasty people, when in reality they're just, existing. But that's a little concept pitched as far as like what type of personality the Oso brothers would have outside the ring, because beyond their whole gimmick and concept, I would say when it comes to their real life personality, it's not as thought out in the noggin like it is with Tezgato and Ricochet. So yeah. So to round out today's commentary, I've been on the fence of consuming any wrestling related media out there, and so I guess this is just a type of wrestling cartoon that I would create that would interest me. So thank you for hearing my fanficky ideas, and hope to see you in the next one.